Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something pretty critical, a cybersecurity issue that's surprisingly common and maybe even closer than you think. We're looking at hidden vulnerabilities in everyday surveillance cameras, and we're focusing on one of the biggest names out there, Dahua. Our mission, as always, is to take the sources we've gathered and really unpack them for you. We want to help you understand not just what happened, but, why it's such a big deal, especially since these cameras are, well, they're everywhere. Casinos, shops, maybe even your own front door. Think about this idea of unseen, unsecured devices and the potential for someone to just remotely hijack them. It's kind of unsettling, right?
It really is. And the scale here is immense. Dahua isn't some niche company. They're consistently ranked among the world's largest surveillance tech manufacturers. We're talking tens of millions of devices out there globally.
Millions.
Yeah, that gives you a sense of the potential reach. These cameras are watching over retail spaces, logistics hubs, corporate buildings, homes, you name it.
Okay, so with that kind of scale, that massive reach, who actually found these vulnerabilities? And what did they discover that has everyone so concerned?
Right, so the credit goes to Bitdefender, the Romanian cybersecurity firm. They're the ones who uncovered these flaws. And what's really striking is just how severe they are. Bitdefender flagged two critical vulnerabilities. They're now tracked as CVE-2025-317 and CVE-2025-31701.
CVEs, right? The
Yeah.
standard identifier.
Exactly. And both of these scored an 8.1 on the CVSS scale. That's the Common Vulnerability Scoring System.
8.1, that's high, isn't it?
Very high. Anything over 7 is considered high severity. And the reason is, if someone exploited these bugs, they could basically execute arbitrary commands remotely. No authentication needed, which means they could effectively hijack the camera, take complete control.
Complete control. So not just tapping into the video feed, but actually getting inside the system, getting full root access. That sounds really serious. What does that actually mean for someone, if their camera is compromised like that?
It's fundamentally about control. The technical sources point to something called buffer overflow bugs. These were found in a couple of key places: the ONVIF protocol handler and the RPC file upload function.
Okay, buffer overflow, like trying to fit too much information into a small box.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. The system gets overwhelmed, data spills over, and an attacker can then sort of inject their own malicious instructions into that overflow. ONVIF is basically how cameras talk to other security devices, a standard language. And RPC is how parts of the camera software talk to each other, like for file uploads. So the flaws were in these really core communication pathways.
Right.
And exploiting them could lead to RCE remote code execution. That means the attacker runs their own code on your camera.
Becoming its master, essentially.
Pretty much. Or they could just launch a DOS attack, denial of service, which just shuts your camera down, maybe right when you need it.
Yeah.
And the critical part, you don't have to click anything or do anything. It happens silently.
That's the scary part. So, okay, a serious vulnerability. But how widespread is this? Which cameras are we talking about?
Well, the list provided is quite broad. It includes Dahua's IPC-1XXX series, the 2XXX series, IPC-WX, IPC-ECXX, also the SD2A, SD3A, SD3D, SD22A, and SD2C series.
So quite a few common models then.
Definitely. These aren't just high-end niche products. You'll find them in, regular retail stores, casinos, warehouses, office buildings, and yes, lots of home security setups. The potential exposure is just massive.
Okay, so lots of potentially affected cameras out there. But why are some devices more vulnerable than others? And what happens once they're compromised?
That's a really important point. It often comes down to network setup. The sources highlight that cameras exposed directly to the internet were the most susceptible. Think about features like UPnP, universal plug-and-play, or manual port forwarding. People enable these for convenience, maybe to access their camera feed remotely.
Right, makes sense. Easy access.
But it can also create an open door. The Exploitation discovered allowed attackers to bypass the camera's own security checks for new software, the firmware integrity checks. This meant they could upload their own malicious software, unsigned payloads, and install backdoors that stick around.
Backdoors that stick around. What does that mean exactly?
It means they're persistent. And here's the really chilling detail. Even rebooting the camera or doing a full factory reset might not get rid of the malware once it's in deep enough.
Wait, even a factory reset might not fix it.
That's what the analysis suggests is possible. Once compromised at that level, cleaning it up becomes incredibly difficult. It's not just about patching, it's about a potentially permanent compromise.
Wow. Okay, so let's connect the dots for the listener. If I have one of these cameras and it gets compromised like this, it could essentially become a spy I invited into my own network.
Precisely. An attacker with full root access isn't just watching. They can change how the camera works. They could delete recordings, modify settings, maybe even feed you a fake video loop while they watch the real feed, or route it somewhere else entirely.
All without any obvious signs.
Often, yes. It's designed to be stealthy. This kind of backdoor is invisible to the average user. The implications for privacy are obvious, but also think about corporate espionage or undermining physical security systems.
Yeah, a camera guarding a sensitive area could become the leak.
Exactly.
Okay, this is serious stuff. You mentioned Dahua acknowledged the issues. What's the fix? What do people need to do now?
Yes, Dahua did issue an alert, and they released firmware updates, which is good. The key action for users is checking their firmware build timestamp. You usually find this in the camera's web settings menu. Go for something like System Information or Version.
Okay, check the version. Is there a specific date to look for?
There is. The sources are clear. Any firmware version built before April 16, 2025 is considered vulnerable.
Before April 16th, 2025.
Got it. So if your firmware is older than that, you need to update it immediately. That's the main remediation step.
And what about other built-in protections? Do they help?
Well, some devices might have things like ASLR, which tries to make exploitation harder by randomizing memory locations. But the reports indicate it wasn't a foolproof defense here. Remote code execution might be harder on some devices, but denial of service attacks could still be a significant problem even with those protections. So updating is still crucial.
Right. Patching is essential. So this brings us back to you, the listener. If you have these Dahua devices, update them. But what's the bigger picture here? What's the lesson for all of us living with so many connected devices?
I think this really hammers home the need for better IoT security hygiene. That sounds technical, but it's becoming vital for everyone. For manufacturers, it means security can't be an afterthought. It needs to be baked into the design and development process from day one.
Built in, not bolted on.
Exactly. And for users like you, network segmentation is increasingly important.
Network segmentation, separating devices.
Yeah, basically putting your IoT devices like cameras, smart speakers, whatever, onto a separate network from your main computers and phones where you keep sensitive data. Maybe a guest Wi-Fi network, or if you're more technical, a VLAN. The idea is if one device gets compromised, like that camera, the attacker can't easily jump over to your laptop or other critical systems.
Containing the potential damage.
Precisely. And also, really think twice about exposing devices directly to the internet. Disable UPnP on your router if you don't absolutely need it. Avoid port forwarding unless you understand the risks. That convenience often has a hidden security price tag.
So to kind of wrap this up, these Dahua vulnerabilities, while serious, also serve as a stark reminder, don't they? We need to be vigilant about the security of all our connected devices, especially the ones we install specifically for security. That unseen, unsecured idea isn't just hype, it's a real risk landscape we navigate daily.
It absolutely is. And it leaves us with a pretty significant question to ponder, doesn't it? Given how deeply these technologies like surveillance cameras are woven into our daily lives, what does an incident like this reveal about the hidden risks we're accepting? And maybe more importantly, what's our personal responsibility in all this? How do we secure our own digital spaces when the very devices meant to protect us could become the weak points?
Definitely some food for thought there. We encourage you to keep exploring this. It matters. Until next time on The Deep Dive, stay curious and try to stay secure.